Hello, my name is Joel Pearson. I'm a Life Groups Coordinator for Sean Bible Fellowship, and today I'll be discussing the Session 2 Leader Guide for Thriving in Babylon. All right. Here we have the Session 2 Leader Guide. Thriving in Babylon by Larry Osborne is the name of this series that we're going through, and it's the focus on thriving in a godless culture. And this session is specifically talking about prepared for Babylon. All right. And so when we open our sessions, we're going to open our sessions with prayer. And that prayer is going to help us to kind of focus our minds, focus our hearts on the session at hand. And then also after our prayer, we're going to go right into our icebreaker, something light, fun, interesting, something that kind of helps people just kind of get warmed up and kind of relax so that we can kind of dive into the session and really discuss the topic at hand. After the prayer and icebreaker, we'll be doing our introduction. And our introduction reads this way: trials help us see what's really in us. They test our faith, strengthen our spiritual vitality. But too often we see trials as unwelcome interruptions in our lives. The Apostle James says it this way: consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. This comes from James 1, 2 through 4. In the study, we'll learn the art of considering our trials pure joy as we continue to learn how to thrive in a godless culture. So after reading this, we can see that our first question kind of pours right into it. It says, how do you respond to painful situations? Share one significant trial you faced in the last year. How has that trial helped you see just how real your faith is? So this is kind of really basic, really something that allows us to reflect on how it is that we respond to painful situations. And how we respond just lets us know where our faith is. And I'm not saying like if you cry or if you feel discouraged when something happens, I'm not saying that. I'm really wondering where you go. That's what I'm wondering. There's other things to wonder as well. One thing I'm thinking about is where do you go when these things arise? Are you going to God? Are you talking to Him? Are you talking to God? Are you talking to God's people? Are you seeking, godly counsel? Are you seeking godly wisdom from the Word or from other people? What are you doing when trials come? Those are things to kind of think about. What do you do when you're triggered, if you will, when something painful happens? What is your response? Where do you turn? What is your go-to thing for going through it? Okay. Also, the next question: how do hardship and trials in your life right now help you see God's hand? What have you learned recently in the midst of a difficult situation? It's good to really figure out how we respond when we go through trials, and then also what we're learning as we're going through those trials. Really good to reflect on those things, because sometimes we can actually be learning a great deal, and it could be actually changing our approach to things, or making us more reliable on God. But sometimes we do it reliant on God, but sometimes we do it subconsciously and not fully consciously. So it'd be good to reflect on these things to see if what we're going through is drawing us closer to God, if we see God's hand in it, like what's our perspective when things happen. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to continue to go through questions that are going to explore this. If you just the first one, it says read Peter 1 through 4, 1, 4 through 7. What role do trials have in the believer's life? The answer is trials test and prove your faith, resulting in honor and praise to God. Of course, in the session itself, you'll ask the question and allow individuals to share what they gather from this scripture, but then also kind of have this answer in mind to guide it, if you will, if you need to. And so the rest of the questions pretty much kind of have that same pattern where you have an actual scripture and there may be a note within parentheses to kind of help you through those questions. This leader note was really something I think, yes, you'll definitely share it because it's going to tie in to the next question. The leader note is the Christian life is more marathon than sprint, which makes endurance essential. And then the question is, how have you learned to endure? According to the James passage, trials produce perseverance and endurance. What's the ultimate goal of trials? Testing our faith. Have everyone discuss that, but if need be, guide in the direction of that we may be mature or complete, lacking in nothing. Okay. So yes, we'll just continue to talk about it, read these scriptures, go through these questions. We should not look at this as a set of questions we have to speed through. Take your time, get full discussion. Also, make sure that we keep people on track, talking about trials and how trials test our faith and develop perseverance and develops endurance. So kind of keep that theme going, but definitely take your time with these questions. Don't feel the need to rush through them. Once we get through the questions or you feel like you're done with that section, please go to the last word and share with them. Sometimes we experience a spiritual boot camp. Spiritual boot camp is the preparation that God sends us through so that we can bring greater honor and glory to Him. Now, what you'll want to do is allow everyone to spend a few minutes discussing two things. What's your greatest spiritual boot camp experience, and what boot camp are you currently walking through? So give people a few minutes to think about this question. You may also give at least one example of your life to allow them to respond. So we're going to be discussing this. We won't necessarily have time to write it down, so we'll just be discussing it within the group. If you do feel like you have time to write it down, go for it. If you want to, you give people a few minutes to sit down and write it down. But honestly, it may work to actually discuss it. If you want to break up into different groups, smaller groups where they can discuss it, that's good as well. So you can write it down. You can have them discuss it as a group, or you can actually break up into little sessions and have people discuss it that way. All right, deeper walk. What you want to do is you want to challenge the group to practice at least one of the suggested activities in deeper walk. You may even invite them to circle the one they want to do and then follow up at the beginning of the next session to find out how it went. So the first thing he kind of starts out with is write down these three commands: act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. After each command, ask God to show you where you can obey Him. How does He want you to act justly in your life right now? Love, mercy, walk humbly. Choose one of the three that you will commit to work on between now and the time we meet again. So like the first personal action is take the note from one area from Micah 6:8 and place it in a prominent place. Pray about obeying God in that specific area. Then determine to obey no matter how strange or difficult it may be. Come prepared to share how the little exercise changed your perspective. All right. So some of these questions are going to refer to Micah 6:8. So they don't necessarily have to write these down within the group, but this is deeper walks. This is the homework. So they will read Micah 6:8 and then follow the instructions in the deeper walk. All right. Now, once we've kind of given an overview over these, or just you give an overview, you can share one, or just say, hey, look at the deeper walk and go ahead and go through it as our homework and be prepared to share one at the beginning of the next session. And then you can close with life story and prayer. And then after prayer, just, everyone can get off, or any other notes you may want to share is fine. One thing, of course, about prayer is that this is the ending prayer, so you may want to ask for some prayer requests. from your group the next time you come together. My name is Joel Pearson again. I'm the Life Groups Coordinator. Thank you for joining me in this session. Be blessed and have a wonderful day.